Oh my. How many of you, how many newbies do we have here who have not been to one of these? Cool, thank you. Wow. Well, thanks for coming. This is we're in our third year, our fourth year of doing this, I don't know. And as you can tell, first of all, this is not going to be a polished dog and pony show. There's no pedigrees here. What we try to do is we try to essentially talk about technology, things that we think are important to small, medium businesses, share what we know, all that kind of fun stuff. So hopefully that'll be somewhat useful. How can we help? We do all those things. We do them better than anybody else. Gosh, aren't we swell? All right. Really, our key thing is we are the IT department for small, medium businesses. And in some cases, we work with those departments. Okay. This is one of those things where, as far as the topic goes, we started with a topic that we thought made really good sense, and then we found ourselves almost buried into what does this mean? You know, it's kind of like introduction to the cloud. Okay, great. Where are we going with that? You know, unified communication. And by the way, those of you who are, and I probably should have cited this, I stole liberally from some Microsoft presentations, and thankfully the script and the demo isn't going to be, but so bear with it. When we talk about unified communication, here's the bullet points that Microsoft brings out. I took out the ones that talk about how great their products are at doing it, because this is not a sales pitch per se. But really, this is the key, okay? When we talk about unified communications, one of the biggest challenges that companies have right now is that everybody, everywhere, wants to share everything in every way with everybody else using every technology possible. Jerks. Yeah, and yeah, I'm not, like I said, this is pretty much how it's going to be for the next 45 minutes. So, and the problem is the technology in terms of the tools that we use on the end, the receiving end of that communication, have just wildly gone all over the place. You know, it wasn't that long ago when we talked about IT, we talked about delivering information, it was pretty much, do you want a laptop, a desktop, or a Mac? That was it. You know, you can have any color car you want as long as it's black, kind of thing. Well, now we've got mobile devices. We don't even call them smartphones anymore because they're not just phones. We've got the various tablets, we've got Droid, Apples, we've got the various phones, and all of them have the ability of sharing data, sharing information. And all of them do it with their own platforms, and all of them do it in their same ways. We also have the whole idea of that your company is in the building. Even for smaller companies, that's not the case anymore. So the challenges are really out there, and it's going to get worse or better depending upon your point of view. And I use this term liberally. We're in what I call a solution-rich environment. And one of the other things that happens, and it sort of snuck up on IT, on corporate IT especially, is between 5 and 10 years ago, it was unheard of for consumer electronics to be expected to be integrated within the organization. If somebody basically had their computer or whatever, no, you can't use that here. And then when they started having the smarter phones and the this and the that, corporate IT, no, we monitor or we manage this vendor or this device or this. Not anymore. Because the iPads and the iPhones, especially leading the charge, but not a lot of other things, are just too freaking capable. So now corporate IT has to support those things, even if the corporation didn't buy them in the first place. And that's created a real big challenge. More with less. Everything's about more with less. You know, whether it be the end user wants to get in more information with less effort, IT wants to manage more resources with fewer people. Any way you slice it, there's a huge drive for that. And then increase IT control and visibility to meet challenge, helps if I read it, changing business requirements. This is here so that the IT people can go, oh yay, they're with us. In a lot of cases, it's becoming more and more decentralized. For medium-sized companies. For small companies, it's still what it is. But by the way, when it looks fancy, I stole the slide directly. Okay? If it looks like someone just cut and paste some text, yeah, that's me. So, again, there's so many things going on, so many directions, so many possibilities. So then we talk about Lync. Now, where does Lync fit in? It does all these things. Anyway, what Lync is, it's a communication tool. And the communication tool allows you to share those resources with other people on different platforms. And we're going to demo it in a little bit and all that good fun stuff. So, if person A wants to talk to, person A wants to communicate with person B, how do we do that? Well, we can call them, audio, voice. We can send an email. We can chat with them. We can share some screens. We can do all sorts of things. What Lync does is it kind of centralizes all those methods so that we can choose how to communicate based on how do we need to communicate with the person. What do we actually need to do? And do I want that? Yeah, actually I want to, hold on. If you look at, and this is one of the problems that Microsoft has, because it used to be that in the good old days, whenever there was a new technology, that meant you had to buy a new computer. You bought a new computer, you had to buy a new version of Windows, you had to buy a new version of Office. Microsoft got your money and it was a good thing. Everybody was happy. Now, podcasts, thin. Blogs, thin. Listserv capability, like mailing lists and email lists, all that kind of thing, that's server-based. Interactive software, well, we'll talk about that. Webcasts, publications, company. A majority of these things are thin. Meaning that someone can have a relatively low-powered desktop running XP, and it works fine. That presents a huge problem for Microsoft and any other company that was banking on you upgrading your computer every 3 or 4 years. Because now you don't have to. We always would talk about the killer app. It's the application that everybody needs to have, and because you need to have it, you're willing to spend money to upgrade to the latest and greatest computer and software. The closest thing to a killer app in the last 5 years, anybody? Take a shot?
The iPads?
iPads? Well, that's actually the technology, as opposed to the application. I am so going to update my status and tell everybody I stumped you all.
Social network.
Facebook, right. Facebook is the killer app. If you're not on Facebook, okay, from a business standpoint, you can say LinkedIn, same thing. What's the investment for either one of them, as far as hardware and software for you to do it? None. Well, that was really annoying to Microsoft. You should all feel very, very bad about that. But one challenge that does happen throughout this is that whole concept of collaboration. Collaboration meaning, Earl, I'm going to pick on you because you're like, closest looking this way. Carl, you're getting away lucky this time. Okay, so he's taking one for you. So Earl and I want to work together on something, but Earl does not want to be anywhere near me. Okay, so it's a realistic, possibility. So we may be working together on a document. So we have an Excel document that we're both responsible for. Wouldn't it be nice if we could both communicate with each other while simultaneously working on that Excel document? Okay, Carl, I'm going to drag you in anyway. And then it turns into, well, Carl wants to take a look at it too. Now, Carl is wise enough, he doesn't want to be anywhere near Earl or me, because you're just antisocial. That's cool. That's fun. You'd never sit in the front row. bring out the watermelon later. Sledge-o-matic was it? So if we can all be in separate spots, but still communicate and still collaborate, that's terrific.
It's like a visual conference call.
Absolutely, absolutely. But at the same time, it's not only a conference call, but we can also be working on information at the same time we're doing it.
So if you typed on your computer or something into the spreadsheet, let's say it's an Excel spreadsheet, the other two gentlemen would see immediately what you just added to it.
Right, with the exception of not really being sure about the whole gentleman thing, yeah. I am, yes, I'm that obnoxious. But that would be kind of cool, because that way, you know, if Carl notices something and say, hey, what if we did this? We give control to you, you take over the keyboard and you make the changes. We then watch the changes, you have something to add, you take control of the keyboard back and forth, back and forth. So now, instead of having this, I send an email to you, both of you with an Excel sheet, you make changes, send them back, I put them all together, and then send them back out. So we've got all that delay and all that additional friction that's necessary in order to do the collaboration. We can just have a meeting and we can do it online.
Can this be done globally?
Absolutely, absolutely. We had there's a global network of companies who do managed services, which is essentially what our company does. And I offered to do a webinar, a web meeting, basically, based on our marketing and some of our sales practices, just to share our experiences, what we did. And we did 2 of them, and one of them I think I had 70-some people online, and the other one I had about 30 or 40 people online. And we did exactly that. And then one of the things we can also do is during this meeting, we've also had companies where we actually talked about doing an email migration, and they had 6 plants, Columbus, Cincinnati, Michigan, Cleveland, Florida, and I think one other. And we did this online meeting, and what we did was we put up a Word document and we took notes. While we're taking notes, everybody sees the notes. So at the end of the meeting, there's no question as to what we discovered or what we discussed and what we agreed upon, and then at the end of it, we email the notes out. Now everybody's on the same page, and if someone says, hey, by the way, make sure you put this in, they can basically make those statements right there.
All the traffic's encrypted?
Yes, and that's actually a good point. Is one of the things with Lync, unlike some of the live meeting, or not live meeting,
WebEx?
Skype?
WebEx, Skype, depends on the plan you go with. Different plans are going to have different levels of encryption. I was thinking the GoToMeeting. Some of those are going to have encryption, some of them aren't. But with the Lync is going to have the encryption. Okay.
I don't see interactive whiteboard up there, you know, for the people who love markers. Do they have a sketch?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes, they do. Now, there's 2 ways of doing Lync, and you also can put in surveys as well. This is essentially a successor to Microsoft's earlier endeavors. It's a combination of what was called Live Meeting and Office Communicator. They pretty much took those pieces, whacked them together, and created Lync. There's 2 ways to do it. One is local, which is a traditional on-premise type thing, where you would have, and it's usually about 2, possibly 3 servers, where you would have the servers, you would purchase the software, you would purchase the licensing, install, and all that kind of fun stuff. And for a larger company, there are some reasons why this might make very good sense. And if you'd like to talk about that, we'd be happy to talk to you about that. What we're really going to be talking about is the cloud-based, which is part of Office 365. Because the Office 365, there's no server component. It's all strictly client. So who can I talk to? We can talk to other Lync users within the organization. They have full integration. We'll get to that when we start talking about the demo. External Lync users, so my organization has Lync, your organization has Lync. We don't quite share the calendars, and I'll show you what we mean by that, but you can still do the direct communication, all that fun stuff. People who don't have Lync, there's actually a client you can install similar to the GoToMeeting kind of thing, where there's a client installed that'll give you most of the features as far as the meetings go. And then there's just a web user that you go to the web and you can share the screen. You don't get some of the video and audio components there, but there's nothing to install. I would add that these two are free. They're free downloads. So,
Is there a URL or something?
yeah. And I'll show how that works.
Okay.
By client, you mean something that runs in the browser versus an actual?
In this case, that's a good point. In this case, there is a client. You can actually download and install a client. In this case, it's just a website, so there is no client to install. What about mobile? This thing actually works now on non-Windows devices as well. There's clients. Some of them are going to be feature limited because, for example, if you do the Lync on the Droid, really you can only do the chat. So you can't do any of the screen sharing or anything along those lines, whereas on some of the iPads and all that, you can do some of that. So there's actually a site that'll go through which client will do what feature and all that kind of fun stuff. And a lot of these are literally coming out with updates within the past couple of months. Microsoft just released some significant client updates, I think in January, and they're still working on them. And then don't forget that Microsoft bought Skype.
Oh, I know that.
Yep. Now Skype
Just happened, that just happened.
happened last year.
Oh,
Yeah. Now Skype, how many Skype users?
I've used it, I haven't
Okay.
used so many.
Cool. It's essentially, we'll do phone and we'll do video conferencing as well. It is free as long as you're Skype to Skype users. You can also do outside of the network to regular phones, cell phones and like for a per minute fee. There's going to be a lot of integration between Skype technology, Lync technology, the cloud technologies and all that, and they're still not 100% sure how they're going to do that. But there's going to be a lot of that. Okay. Yeah, whatever. So how does this thing work? Well, right now, I have there's the Lync client. And as you can see, it has my frequent contacts and other contacts as well. And you'll notice that it gives me a color code. First of all, it tells me whether or not they're offline. Apparently John's offline. Doug is away from his desktop or his laptop right now, meaning there's been no activity. Kevin is in a meeting. Sarah's available, Mario's available, Steve's available. Now, in this case, Steve is available right here. So, and okay, he did bring a laptop, okay. But it basically will update constantly. So if someone has stuff in their calendar that says they're busy or whatever, it's going to update automatically. And you can also go in and search for your contacts within your organization, and as long as you have access to their free busy time, which by default most people do, it'll automatically show you. And then what you can do,
So people can't hide as easily if
Because they
it
changed the
says they're
system.
available.
we will find them. Well, and part of the challenge is it's like with Steve, okay, it'll show for inactive for a bit, and actually it shows him that he's available from a mobile, I believe, yeah. So I can go and connect to him that way. Now, you can change here as well as change your calendar. So automatically it's going to update based on your calendar. So as long as you're fine with what your calendar's saying, you don't have to do anything. But if you'd rather say, don't disturb me. Okay?
So do you mean Outlook calendar when you say calendar?
Yes. Thank you. You caught me last month, didn't you?
I'm on top.
She's a smart cookie.
I want to really get.
John, make a
what you're
note.
saying. That's right, get a bouncer for me though.
Now, what happens if you're away and somebody wants to leave you a message? I'm so used to voicemail, you know?
Essentially what will happen is that when you do a call, if you do a call, well, let's do one. Let's call Kevin.
And then it says not to disturb.
Well, actually, he's theoretically in this meeting.
Yeah, no, I understand.
That's needed.
I understand that.
So if I go call, so here we go. And he's getting that ringing, and he then chooses whether or not to answer.
That's all.
Well, he didn't know it was you.
Oh no, he gets a it's call from Bob. How you doing?
Hello, how's it going?
Whee!
Look at that.
He's at your office.
No, he's actually, he and his wife are going.
Hello, dude.
Can you see all of us?
Well, actually, he's stuck with me. All right. Hold on.
Turn him around, let him see everybody.
See, there's actually people. Okay. So what we've done is we looked online, we saw his calendar, we didn't really care that he said he was in a meeting, and we started this call. And right now, as you can see, we've got the video, we've got the audio going, and there really wasn't much to that. Now, in addition to that, we can also do a share content. And you see you were asking? So I can go with, I have two monitors here. I have my laptop monitor, and then I've got whatever's on this guy. I can choose to share one of those. I can also say, hey, all monitors. I can also go after the individual program. Right now I've got about, 6 websites, a couple notepads, I think one Word document, whatever. I can choose only that. So I only want to share that one screen. And I can also do a PowerPoint presentation,
That's
whiteboard, so we've got that, and create a poll. So I can do that fairly simply. Okay? So, let's see. What's that? Do you want to do a share of a document, Kevin? So, do you want to share a document so we can see what it's like on the receiving end?
Now, are you on Wi-Fi, Bob?
Yeah, we're just connected to the wireless network.
Okay, so this is the performance you get over like a G connection?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they've just got like a DSL here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so he's looking to share something. I can accept it. Okay. Now, keep in mind, this projector does not have the highest resolution, so your mileage will vary and all that good fun stuff. But so he's chosen to share, did we go for a screen or just the application? Oh, okay, cool. So he just chose to share the Word document that he's currently working on. Okay. Now, what?
He's working on lunch.
He's working on, he's gonna make you lunch.
Getting ready for lunch.
He's got a recipe here for salt brine.
He thought you liked that.
We're gonna batch up for you.
No, actually, he does a lot of. What was the last jerky you brought to the office? Bacon jerky.
wow.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so now you'll notice that over here there's a screen called Request Control. So for example, I don't think salt brine, I think you need more water. So I'm going to request control. Since he started the control, he has the keys to the kingdom. So he can decide whether or not I can make the changes.
Good. have.
Salt brine doesn't have salt in it.
Oh.
So he gave me control. So I just say add some freaking salt. Okay? And the nice thing is that then I can, at some point, release control. So during this conversation, even though, and I want to be real clear here, the document is not on my laptop, it's on his. And it never comes over here.
So you couldn't like save it onto your document when you had
Correct.
control?
Correct.
Okay.
So the data stays on his side.
Okay.
All right, now, you can actually send a document through the chat. So you can actually
As an
send
attachment?
somebody's as an attachment. Yeah. So you could do that if you were so inclined.
But if you did it like that, then you probably couldn't interact like this, right?
Well, then the other person would open it up, share it, but yes, you're correct.
Copy of it.
Right. Okay. So I can accept this. And then I can open it. It saved it here by default to my received files folder. Okay? The key thing here is twofold. Number one is, remember we were talking about how people want to communicate in totally different ways depending upon their particular needs and preferences. So we're giving them that ability. We can still send documents back and forth if we want to, or we can simply have it on Kevin's side and he can just make the changes based on the conversation, or he can let me drive and I can ruin it completely, and directly. So depending upon the needs or the interest, you've got the flexibility. And you'll notice I'm not doing anything terribly complicated. So I'm really an end user here. There's nothing from the standpoint of a whole lot of training. I mean, yes, a person has to have some basic Windows concepts and has to know, how some of these concept things work, but that's it. That's it. So do you want to invite Sarah? Actually, I can. Is she on?
I just invited her.
Okay.
The airline industry is not going to like this. This is more reasons.
Working on her phone as well.
What's that?
Working on her phone as well.
Ah. Okay. So we just invited Kevin's wife Sarah to join us.
Hi guys.
How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Yay. Are you doing a presentation today or tomorrow?
We're doing a presentation tonight up in Detroit on Photoshop.
Batch writing. Okay, cool. Yay.
Yay.
So we'll do the same thing.
Did you get both their pictures up there at the same time, or the camera doesn't show both of
See,
them?
there actually are people.
Hi. So you don't see their pictures on your monitor?
Right, what I do, when I do presentations here, I have my cheat sheets over here.
Okay.
So if there's something I need to look at to tell if I'm crazy or not, which usually the answer is yes. Kevin, can you chat? Can you talk for a sec?
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys noticed it or not, but as people are talking, it's changing. There's like right now, it's mine and stuff, but like I'm talking, and mine turns here when Sarah starts talking, it will go over to her. So it kind of takes about 2 seconds, 3 seconds to go over to the next talking, and then it'll show up on your link.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry. I could have brought a pair of speakers. Let me see. Yeah, in this case. But so what's happening is whoever is speaking, they'll take the predominant window.
Okay.
Now, in my case, it won't because in theory I don't need to see me.
Okay.
But if Sarah could you start chatting away?
I can always take over control. You guys see me now?
Okay. So it won't show them both at the same time?
Right. Well, yeah, here's what everybody else will be seeing, and then here's whoever the primary person who's talking.
Oh, so they both see you, they don't see each other?
Well, I think they both, so for Sarah's screen, it'll show
Right now,
her
I
here.
see you you guys at Hattie's, or right now it looks like books at Hattie's, but I don't see Kevin unless he starts talking.
Right. So it'll switch back and forth.
What was it? What you said?
So what'll happen is it'll switch back and forth. This is, the main window is always whoever the last speaker was that wasn't you. Okay? The smaller window will always show you. Okay? And I believe you can also go back and forth and change this. So if you want to, if we don't want to watch Sarah, even though she's the one who last was speaking, we can switch over to Kevin because we have suspicions of him taking the salt line out of the recipe.
And
Yeah.
that's through instant message, is that what it means in the corner I am?
Down here?
No, on the top. Is that how you access it to start with?
That's how you could. Right now what we can do is we can hide that instant message piece.
Okay.
So when you start a call, you can choose to start the call by just instant message, which is the least intrusive. And instant message, you can send the first message. If you call for a video call, then it's kind of like the phone call coming in. You don't know what the topic is. So one of the things that we do at the office is if somebody has it, so for example, if I'm on a phone with a client and they have a question that I don't have the answer to, but it's a fairly straightforward question, I can open up an IM window, send the question to Steve or Kevin or whoever, and they can just reply to it in a text message. So in that case, I want my communication to be very quick, very effective, get it done. And what'll happen is they'll get a ringing saying, hey, there's an IM, but it'll show the message. In the case of a phone call, or excuse me, a video call or the like, it won't show anything until we accept the call.
And do you need the video to have the interactive document?
No, the video is not needed for the interactive document. So you can do the interactive document. So yeah, that's a good point. So let's talk about what people need for this. In order to take advantage of all of this, you need to have either the Lync software, the Lync client installed, as in you're part of the Office 365 organization and the like, or you have to have the free Lync client installed on your desktop.
It's a free?
The client is free. To use the service though, if you just download and install the free client, then I can instigate a call with you. You can't instigate a call with me.
Okay, but I can respond to you.
Absolutely. Yep.
So as the recipient.
Right. And you see all this. If you simply go with the web client, which is no software installation, then all you would be able to see would be the shared screen. Now, if someone does not have video, they can still see the video, but obviously they can't transmit on the video. Same thing for the audio. If they have speakers but no microphone, they can hear, but they can't necessarily respond back, which is really good with some clients. Anyway, so there's parts as far as full effectiveness. Now I will say, if you'll notice, almost all laptops sold these days have this little
Yeah.
the little video up front, and you're kind of like, oh, what do I need that for? Well, if you have this is a no-brainer then, relatively speaking. Okay? If you had downloaded and installed that client, I can't see what your calendar is because you're not part of our organization. Okay? Similarly, if, let's say, for example, when you upgrade to the 365, you and I can do the Lync meetings, but again, we have no integration to the calendar because our organizations don't, quote unquote, trust each other. Okay? Cool.
So are you, is everybody on this call right now, are you using VPN so that you can get?
No.
So this is just internet?
There's nothing to it except nothing but net.
So do you have private infrastructure?
No.
So you're all in the cloud?
This is absolutely, there is nothing up my sleeve. This is Office 365. Okay? So Office 365, the only thing that has to happen is there needs to be configuration of your account on Office 365. You need to enable Lync for the users. And we'll talk about cost in a minute. And then really the clients need to be installed on the desktops. Beyond, and some DNS changes so that it knows how to configure and all that. Everything else it's in there, so to speak. Kevin, am I missing anything on that?
No, I'd say that's pretty much the basic story of it. You might just want to mention I don't know if everyone can hear me or not, but you might want to mention the mobile clients. They appear to be all out, and they appear to be working pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about, you just reminding me about the mobile clients. And again, I want to stress, the mobile clients are not necessarily full featured. So again, the Droid clients can do the text, the IMing, but it can't do the screen sharing and all that kind of fun stuff. Whereas the iPad, I believe, can do most functionality. And there's some sites where you can go to that'll describe what can or can't be done.
Did you ever sign anything, or it's only just typing?
When you say sign anything, are we talking about like a graphic?
Or like put your signature on something, if you had an interactive document, and you needed someone's signature on something, could you sign it?
That's actually a good question. Can you bring up like Paint? Kevin, can you bring up Paint? Because the question was whether or not we could sign a document. And so if you brought up and shared Paint, and if I tried to take control of it, what could I do? I believe the answer is yes.
That'd be pretty cool.
Share program.
Or would you have to save your signature as a JPEG and then just
You could do that
copy
too.
paste it?
Could.
You could do that too.
I was told you
Okay.
shouldn't do that online because it's just too dangerous for your signature to be
Well, that's
available.
probably very good, especially if it's open like this.
Okay. Did you give me control?
Oh, I should probably do that. One thing I will want to mention, what you can do is the IM box on a tablet-enabled machine, like some of the Samsung tablets that have come out. If you have Lync on it, you'll notice on the IM box it has the little A and the smiley face where you can change your font size and add emoticons. On tablets, there's a third one there. It looks like a little scribble, and it's just that scribble zone. So you can actually start scribbling in the IM box.
Okay. So what Kevin was saying, in addition to saying I am just the smartest guy he's ever known, he was also saying that I don't know, that wasn't the joke. He was also saying that on some of the tablets there is built in some ability to do just this. Okay. So yeah, we've got this now. There is going to be a little bit of a lag. And sometimes with some of these paper there already is, so I wouldn't, use this necessarily to do the Sistine Chapel, but you've got some abilities there.
Next month.
There you go. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Can you translate to another language?
I don't believe there is a translator built into the IM.
Oh, that's very interesting.
I think that's an add-in. That's something Microsoft hasn't created, or the Lync team created, but I think it's like an add-in or something like that. I remember seeing something, maybe it was from the Microsoft Garage, the same place that does the Mouse Without Borders. It's something that will automatically do language conversions within Lync.
Okay. So Kevin's saying that could be an add-in that's been added. Now I know, for example, in Office 2010, that is built in. It's more prominent in Word than anywhere else where you can do an automatic conversion. And one of the things Microsoft is actually doing a pretty good job on is taking technology from Tool 1 and porting it over to Tool 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so on. That whole reusable code concept. They're actually pretty good at that. So my get would be that if it's not available as an add-in, it's going to be, and if it is available as an add-in, it's going to be built in before too long, because that's a huge issue.
So can Office 2010 be upgraded to the 365, or it's totally different software you would have to replace?
No, it's exactly the same.
So it can just be upgraded then?
Well, you don't even need to. Actually, the difference between Office 2010 and Office 365 is strictly one of subscription. Right. So if you go out and you buy through Microsoft licensing, and I'll get into the reason why in a second. If you go out and buy Office Professional Plus.
I have the Professional now.
Okay, and Plus has a couple other features, but essentially it's the same thing. So you pay a fixed fee for that. You now own that license.
Yeah.
If instead you went through Office 365 and you chose a subscription that included Office, the programs would be almost identical, almost completely identical.
So it just replaces the.
You actually wouldn't need it. If you already have Office 2010, see, here's the thing.
I would just need to buy a license for 360.
Here's the light. When we talk about licensing in Office 365, if all you want is email, so you just want an a cloud-based Exchange mailbox, that's $5 a month. Okay, and that's for 25 gig of storage, I believe. Okay. If you also want to have this Lync and SharePoint site as well, it goes up to $10 a month. Okay, and that includes the Exchange. If you also want to have that license of Office 2010, $23 or $24 a month, and that includes the Exchange mailbox, the Lync, the SharePoint, and Office 2010. If you already own Office 2010, then you don't need it. You can just go with the $10 a month. And you can mix and match. So you can have some people within your organization, you go, hey, they just need email, so we're going to pay $5 a month for them. These are the people who, whether they travel or we want to have this interaction, they're going to pay the $10 a month, and then the additional $14 a month for either of them if they don't have Office 2010.
If your company pays for Microsoft Exchange, is this any of the features part of it, or it's completely separate?
In the case, if your company already goes with Exchange, first of all, they would first say, hey, you should migrate up to Office 365. I believe that you can do a link-only subscription with Office 365. And I believe it will integrate then with your calendar, depending upon the version. Do you know what version of Exchange they have? It would be 2003, 2007, or 2010, most likely. Okay. What a lot of companies are doing is and we've got about...
I think it's 2010. I think we all had to buy it in 2010.
Okay. What a lot of companies are finding is that they have Exchange 2003 environments and they need to upgrade, and they're finding the Office 365 is a much better, because then that's one more server you don't have to worry about. But yes, you can integrate it. And as I said, you can also bring Lync into your own organization, but it's not easy. It is not an easy configuration.
But I'm also thinking with security and things, I don't even know if my company will let me do something like this.
Yeah, and when you start talking about security, there's two issues here. First of all, if it's not done well, cloud-based security stinks. If it's not done well, on-premise local security stinks. Okay? So the real thing is it done well? If it is, both of them are reasonable. Now, I guarantee you that in the year 2012, major companies online will be hacked and information will be stolen from them. And that includes both private companies and public companies. That's just the way it is. I also guarantee you that some of the online cloud-based services will have failures. Probably most of them, including Office 365, including Google, including Amazon, including, Sony. And I guarantee you that a lot of local on-premise ones will too. So, but yeah, when you start talking about, we have both on-premise services and cloud-based services, I believe the integration is possible, but only if you've got the latest versions, the 2010 and all that fun stuff.
Could one purchase just the Exchange and the access to Word and Office and not have the Lync, or is it limited that $5 to whatever?
I believe you can do that, mix and match. Yep. So that would be the $5 plus the $14 for the Office, so I believe it'll be $19. There also is, and I usually don't bring this up because I'm not a big fan of them because I'm old. There also is a cloud-based version of Microsoft Office where they call web apps. So there's a version of Word that's cloud-based only. There's a version of Excel that's cloud-based, version of PowerPoint. And this is very strictly to compete with Google Apps, Google Docs, all that kind of fun stuff. And quite honestly, I think web-based word processors and web-based spreadsheets are junk. And that's on both parties. Now, for many people's needs, it might be absolutely fine. Bless you, have a ball, enjoy. In my opinion, though, as far as true features and what you need to do and all that kind of thing, I don't think they're robust enough for companies.
But you're counting on it to be working. What happens if it goes down and that's the only,
Oh, yeah.
you don't have that software in your system? That means you can't open your own documents.
There's always vulnerabilities. So, for example, I was talking to a client earlier this week, and he has an Exchange. And I want to be honest here, we sell the services to install and configure these things, whether it's cloud-based or local. We will make more money every day if you get local. Okay, if you buy an Exchange server to have in your company, I will be more in your debt. I will make more money. My grandkids will be more spoiled and annoying and all that. That said, I had a conversation with a potential client earlier this week, and he was very concerned about email availability. And so he was asking me about clusters and all sorts of dual servers and all that kind of thing. And my question to him was very simple. Well, what if your internet goes down? If your internet goes down, then nobody's sending you emails from the outside. They're not coming in. And nobody's receiving emails from you. And your servers are running absolutely fine and wonderful. And there are some services that you can do that'll actually help guard against that, but it wasn't something that he had considered. And that's fine. That's why we're there. Similarly, if you're cloud-based and you don't have access to the web, then you can't do the things. The nice thing, though, about the cloud-based is go to McDonald's. Come here. Go someplace where there's Wi-Fi. Free Wi-Fi, you're attached again. And my point is not to be pro-cloud. I don't want to make it sound that way at all. My point is that one of the things that you absolutely need to do is you have to have a discussion with the business decision makers about both the pros and the cons of both, and which is the most costly, which loss of service, what's the cost of downtime. And then whatever decision they make, it's an educated decision made by the business decision makers, knowing what may or may not happen, having a better idea of what the possibility of things happening are.
Okay, but I have a question related
Sure.
to what you just
You're trying to
said.
catch up with her, is that the
No.
one?
What you just said about, whether you're going to be dependent on your web service or cloud.
Mhm.
So I recently fired Time Warner from all my services I had with them. I bought a little modem from Verizon,
Mhm.
and I could go sit in the park if I wanted and be online.
Yep.
But that modem service is being guaranteed by Verizon cell towers, if I understand the technology correctly.
Probably.
So then, I'm still dependent on, quote, my internet service?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. It's like Dylan said, you have to serve somebody. No matter how you connect, you're connecting through some level of technology.
Yeah.
So this guy can't connect to the internet. All right? This can connect to networks that are connected to the internet. And if it can't connect to that network, wherever that network is, and that network right now happens to be here at Hattie's Cafe. When I get back to the office, it's over at Simplex IT. When I'm at home, it's at our house. Or worst case, neighbors, if I have to. But if I don't have that connectivity, and in your case, it's wherever through Verizon.
Yeah.
If we lose that connectivity, we lose our access to the cloud. And fact of life, there are scenarios which are very reasonable that can happen where we lose connection temporarily. And the biggest issue is you just have to make good calls as far as what's the best risk, both to accept and to stay away from.
Do some companies have both? They have one as a backup?
Yep. They're what are called hybrid solutions. So one of the things and this is one of the things I was talking to the company earlier about, is we have, this bloke would have an Exchange server on site, and then his anti-spam service is off-site. His email accumulates. If they lose connection here, his email accumulates up at that cloud site. The additional thing these guys do, though, is you can actually access your email through, you go over to McDonald's, and you can access the email that hasn't been delivered yet, and you can send and receive that way. So that's one example of a solution. Now, that adds a little bit more cost to it. And that's fine. You say, and
But
here's,
isn't there security risks that way also?
there's,
When you're in a public you know,
Relatively speaking, there's always security risks.
yeah.
You know, the whole thing is, if I never locked my house, that would make it so much easier. Okay, that's not safe. I better put a lock on the door. All right, now I need to have a key, but I have a lock on the doors. Okay, but I need a combination lock as well, because I want to make sure, because I have a physical key and then I need to know the combo. Okay, I've just increased the cost and I've increased the complexity every time I go in and out, but I've increased security. And if you think of this as you increase the security necessary to do things, you're increasing the complexity, and whether it be the direct cost, as in now you have to buy these certs, you have to buy these devices, you have to buy these whatever, or the indirect cost, now somebody has to type in 3 different passwords, or they have to have this software, this computer has to have this chipset in it, or whatever. As long as everybody understands that, we're golden. We're golden. Make sense? Cool. All right. Just for yucks.
Connectivity issues.
Yeah, and I will say, and also we haven't done anything.
So does it kind of go into sleep mode since you?
I don't think it goes into sleep mode per se, but there will be some choices that are made if network connectivity gets low. And this place sometimes doesn't have the greatest connectivity.
How about showing an Outlook where you can use the calendar section to initiate an appointment for a Lync online meeting?
Okay.
Just for kicks and giggles.
So I can also, just to show, so I can create a poll and ask people to basically, and you saw it was very easy to do. And unfortunately, they can see your emotions. Yay. So, you know, when you talk about, you've got the whiteboard availability, you've got the poll availability, all that. Actually, I want to show one other thing. Oh, let me see.
Hey, before you get there, Bob, let me ask you this while you're working.
Yep.
Does this add value to your organization? I mean, not a dollars and cents value.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
Does it help your team work better together?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Hugely. And if you would have asked me when I first saw this thing coming out, I would have said, maybe. But the ability for us to very quickly resolve issues, for very quickly have this communication, if I'm having a problem with a server, so I can be connected to one of our servers remotely, and this has happened, where I've been sitting in a dining room working on a server that's, literally in England, we'll say. I'm having problems with it. Oh, I see Kevin's online, so I'll just ping him, essentially with this, and if he's available, I'll share the screen so we can both talk about what we see, what's working, what's not working. As opposed to the, boy, I hope I don't bug him, I don't know if he's up, I'm not sure what he's doing, and just to instantaneously get access, that's fantastic. The other thing this has helped us a lot on is meeting with clients. By having them, and I'll show you how to do an online meeting, but by having them be able to do this online, and again, I can't stress enough, having a document that we can build notes as we go through, so there's no surprises afterwards. That's terrific too. So yeah, no, there's absolutely been value. Absolutely been value. Okay, so here's a document, and Kevin, I'm going to end this meeting because I want to show another example, but I'm going to call you back in a minute or so.
Okay, that's
All right,
fine.
and same thing for Sarah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm not necessarily calling you again, Sarah, but don't take that personally.
I won't.
Yeah, she's crying.
Bye, Sarah.
Okay, so I just left the conversation. And what I want to do now is show you how so here's just some gold mine configuration stuff. You'll notice in Office 2010, there's a review. I want to share now. And Kevin hasn't ended his meeting yet, I guess. I don't know. So just by doing that, I've got a Word or Excel document. I can say, yeah, I want to share it. Boom, boom, boom. Don't even have to bring up Lync or anything.
Oh,
Okay?
you can,
If you just click over here, yep. We're back.
so you just click where?
Oh, we're apparently having some network issues. You just click over in Review, and you've got Share Now.
Oh,
I always wondered what that was all about.
Yep.
so they would also have to have 2010.
They would not have to. Okay, because you're sharing the application, the screen. You do, but because you're sharing the application with them. They're not actually running it.
So do you have to install people's names or their
They're automatically read by the Exchange document. So by however you've set up your network with your users for email and
That's
all
when
that
you
kind
have
of
to set
the
it
global
up.
address list, it's automatically there. So every time you add somebody new, they're added into the group and all that.
So I can add people on my list now or not because I'm not paying for that
You can
service?
add some additional users that are
I'm not
outside.
paying for any service.
No, you
right
can't
now.
use Lync. You can't start meetings without being a user of Lync. Somehow
Okay.
subscribe
So I
to the
still need
Lync.
to subscribe.
Yeah. Okay. And I got one last thing to show. And Kevin, I think we're done with you though.
Okay, I just do want to add to the gentleman who was mentioning, does this add any value? Just yesterday, I was working with Brandon. I was actually at the Microsoft office, but I couldn't use a phone or use or anything like that, middle of the office. And Brandon and I have been trying to get together and do a project together to help our monitoring the Dell servers. So we just hopped on Lync here, and I brought up our monitoring software. We went over all the different pieces, and I just typed everything with them. So instead of having to be on the phone or anything like that, it was just a half-hour Lync session with them, and we just went over what we needed to, and he started on his way with that project.
Yep. So to summarize what Kevin was just saying is that we had somebody working at the office yesterday who had a project to do. Kevin was actually at the Microsoft office, had to go over, and he was able to just meet with them online and go over the issues and all that kind of fun stuff. Okay, guy, we'll talk to you later.
All right, take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, one last thing I want to show.
I have a question. With the new version of Exchange and Office,
Yep.
is there a way to import all of your contacts into the global address list? Because with the existing one, you can't do that. And if you have 3,000 contacts, it's still hard to type it.
Well, the global address list is actually maintained for your email group. So technically that's outside of that area. There may be some ways to do what you're looking to do though. You'll also notice in Outlook there's a new online meeting for calendar. If I create that, it actually will send, as part of it, here's the link for someone to join that meeting online. And here's a link for them to find out more information about it as their first meeting. So I can send an email invite to everybody, regardless of whether they're part of my Lync organization or not. And here's the connection. If they already have the Lync client installed, or they're part of Office 365, if they click on this link, boom, it'll bring it up right up in Lync. And if they aren't, it'll go to the web version. But either way, it'll bring them right to that meeting.
Can you have more than one calendar, like one calendar for certain people, one calendar for other people? Or no? Or is that too complicated?
When you say, like, give me an example.
Like, let's say you had a personal calendar and a work calendar. You had a work calendar that the whole office could see, but maybe you
Oh,
had
yeah.
a work calendar that was only for a group
Yeah,
of people.
that's part of Exchange, but yes.
Okay,
And you can give separate access to each person.
okay.
Any other questions? I'm actually running over here.
So two people who download the free client, it's essentially users. And
Right.
somebody who's subscribed.
Correct. Yep. I will also say that Office 365 is available in one-seat subscriptions. So you can just get the email and Lync for yourself, and you're good.
And that's the $20-something a month?
No, it's $10 a month if you don't need Office. If you already own an Office.
Wait, so then you would have to use Outlook email.
In this particular case, yeah, because it'll generate, because they're all integrated.
So like if you had a Gmail address, you couldn't really use that with this.
Not really, because the whole thing is that this then integrates, it's just similar to, there's things in Google apps that you can't integrate with Outlook.
But you can sync Google.
You could forward it,
You
absolutely.
can sync Google to Outlook calendars.
You can sync it, but generating this link
Okay.
that links to, that actually connects with the Lync service, that's where it falls down a little bit.
So, just to ask an arbitrary question, maybe not arbitrary, but on Yahoo, you can do almost all these things except for the interactive document. I've never tried to do the interactive document in Yahoo. I can do the interface on the web, I can talk to people, I can send documents.
Is it all free?
Yeah. there's no
Yes,
charge.
you can do a lot of these things with a lot of the other services. Where you run into a little bit of an issue is on some of the security, some of the sharing resources within an organization.
Okay.
That's where it kind of falls by the wayside. But I want to be very clear here. There are a lot of really good free tools out there that will do a lot of this sort of thing. This is nice from our standpoint because you can deploy a complete communications process for the organization that's seamless, it's secured, it's encrypted, it's there.
Okay, so you have the security plus you have your work calendar.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the advantage.
Yep. And I'll be sticking around for a bit for any other questions or anything along those lines. I apologize for running a little bit late here. This is cool. And it's also a level of technology that end users can use without a huge amount of training. And an IT department or a company can implement without a huge amount of cost. There really isn't much cost to this.